Research and recording of Canadian Creepies happens on the shared land and traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties. A key treaty governing this territory is the Dish with One Spoon Agreement. This treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee people binds them to share and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, settlers, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. We all share the responsibility of ensuring the dish is never empty, meaning we must take care of the land and the creatures we share in it.
I'm Kyle.
Welcome to Canadian Creepies, the podcast where we dig into the eerie, the haunted, the unsolved, and the just plain weird across the cold and creepy corners of Canada.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm Valerie. Allie is off this week. She's busy working on the farm and wrangling her adorable new puppy, Rosie. But don't worry, she'll be back soon with plenty of creepy stories and chaos.
Today we're kicking off part 1 of our Haunted Saskatchewan series. This will be a non-consecutive series, so we'll be dropping back into Saskatchewan's haunted spots here and there, like ghosts showing up when you least expect it.
In this episode, we're diving into two of the province's most chilling haunted locations, the legendary Fort San and the historic and haunted Government House in Regina.
We'll also throw in a few mini-haunt mentions, some quick creepy stories that'll make you side-eye your surroundings. Ooh. And to wrap things up, we've got a current case from right here in Saskatchewan. That's unsettling, mysterious, and still unfolding. Boy, can I read.
You're good. So grab a blanket, turn down the lights, and let's head into the prairies, where the ghosts might be quieter, but they're definitely not gone.
Oogity boogity, everyone.
Oogity boogity. Welcome to Canadian Creepies.
And I want to say thank you to Valerie for getting me this coffee this morning, because I'm hardly functioning with it.
But here we are, and everyone's going to be good. Lucky for you, I'm going to read first.
Oh, what a treat.
Allie will be back, everyone. Don't fear. Do not fear. She will be back.
This won't last that long.
I have gotten a lot of good feedback with Kyle as the co-host, and I love co-hosting with my sweet, sweet boyfriend, Kyle.
That's me.
But I also love co-hosting with Allie as well. But I just wanted to let all of our listeners know that she will be back. We haven't gotten into a fight and disbanded. We love each other. She's probably listening to this episode and smiling right now with you.
We miss you, Allie.
We miss you, Allie. I'm going to see her Friday, actually.
See you then.
You won't.
I won't.
Okay. So haunted location number 1. Fort San or Fort Qu'Appelle. Oh, okay. That's why. So Fort San in Fort Qu'Appelle.
Okay.
Qu'Appelle. Q-U''Appelle.
Literal fort inside of a place called Fort.
Well, we'll see. So it's nestled in the Qu'Appelle Valley.
Gotcha.
And I'm probably saying that wrong, Saskatchewan listeners. I am sorry. Please send me an email. Tell me how to say it right, and I will issue a correction. Oh, that's what I wanted to correct. For those of you, if you've listened to all of our, not all of them, if you listened to the Christine Jessup case, and now you're here with us today, and I haven't corrected anything since then. Someone told me, my boss actually told me, it's not Guy Paul Morin, it's Guy Paul Moran. Is the man who was wrongfully convicted in the Christine Jessup case. Guy Paul Moran. And I really wanted to correct that. I've been meaning to correct that for some time, but for those of you who are citing the case and calling him Guy Paul Morin based on my research, I'm fucking sorry about that. I didn't mean to mispronounce it. It's Guy Paul Moran. Guy Paul Moran. I've known a guy named Guy, but I've never known a guy named Guy, so that's why I said Guy.
A guy named Guy.
That's right. That should be like a book.
Yeah.
A guy named Guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So nestled in the Qu'Appelle Valley, surrounded by rolling plains and quiet lakes, sits a structure whose walls seem to breathe with the pain and whispers of the past. Fort San. Just outside Fort Qu'Appelle, Saskatchewan. I think it's Qu'Appelle.
I can't say it.
Qu'Appelle. How would you say it? You're the French one. Is that French?
It looks pretty French. The first thing that popped in my, I would feel like Qui appelle,
Qui appelle.
but I don't know for sure.
See, I love doing the coups when it's a key. Or the guys when it's a gee. While it may look like a peaceful retreat today, its past is steeped in sorrow, silence, and the soft echoes of suffering.
Oh my God.
Right? This part's actually wild.
Soft echoes of suffering.
Yeah. Fort San. So here's the history of Fort San.
Okay.
It had a history of being a sanatorium.
Okay, what's a sanatorium?
I'll Google it. I know I can. It's like a place for sick people. It's a historical term for a type of hospital often located in a healthy environment like the countryside that specialized in treating long-term illnesses and providing convalescence. They were particularly common. So all the crazy sickness wards.
Because santé is health en français,
Oh, okay.
I believe.
Oh, well, there you go.
Santé. En santé.
Ah, santé. This is how you know this is a truly Canadian podcast, because we're exploring our French.
That's right.
While we're here. So Fort San was originally built in 1917 as the Fort Qui appelle Sanatorium, one of several tuberculosis sanatoriums constructed during Canada's TB crisis in the early 20th century.
Oh dear.
At the time, tuberculosis was one of the leading causes of death. And sanatoriums were essentially isolated medical camps where patients, many of them young, were sent away from their families to either recover or die. Most of them die.
Yeah.
Very slim chance of recovery.
Oh, that's sad.
Yes. These institutions were remote by design, built far from major cities to prevent the spread of TB. At its peak, Fort San housed over 350 patients and more than 200 staff. This treatment back then was grueling. So the treatment for tuberculosis back then was rest, forced feeding, exposure to fresh air, even in the winter, and in later years, surgeries that removed ribs or collapsed lungs, often without anesthesia.
Oh my God.
Many patients died slowly, isolated from the world.
That's awful.
That sounds like COVID.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And I thought you said forest feeding.
No, forced feeding.
Forced feeding. So they're not like sending them into the woods to eat.
Correct. They're not sending them into the woods to eat.
Good. That's good.
The sanatorium eventually closed in 1971 after TB cases declined and treatment advanced. But the story didn't end there.
Uh-oh.
Almost immediately after its closure, whispers of hauntings began to circulate, and those whispers have only grown louder. Visitors, especially those attending summer youth camps and arts retreats hosted on the grounds, have reported a wide variety of eerie experiences. That's wild to me. Well, I guess it's okay. I guess it's okay that it's now like a youth camp. I guess that's okay.
Sounds like the beginning of a horror movie.
It does sound like the beginning of a horror movie.
Bless you.
Thank you. So they have reported seeing the usual stuff that we love hearing about.
Oogly boogans.
Shadowy figures seen gliding silently through abandoned hallways. That would oog me out.
Like Voldemort.
Like Voldemort. Or like the guy in Haunting of Hill House, and he's got the cane. Remember that tall guy with the bowler cap?
Yeah, that one. That was.
Yeah, that's what I
awful.
think of. That's gliding.
That was a spooky.
That's scary.
show.
Yeah. As you can see, I don't like it. And then
I don't like it.
I don't like it, but it's a really good show. I've watched it so many times, so I do like it. Phantom footsteps echoing down corridors. Typical. Mm-hmm. Now our favorite one, unexplained cold spots, even in warm summer weather.
Do we got a woman in a white dress?
Soft crying.
Okay.
Often heard in the old infirmary wing, where the most gravely ill patients once stayed.
Yeah.
I bet there will be a woman in a white dress, though. We should start a Canadian Creepies bingo with these ones.
Yeah.
It's like woman in a white dress, cold spots.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's something to consider. If you guys like that idea, that would be fun.
Yeah,
You could play bingo while
footsteps.
you're listening.
It's a fun idea. Do a little counter.
I'm really obsessed with bingo because I did make Valentine's bingo for my for my coworkers at work.
I was
I
gonna
love
say
the idea of
since
bingo.
when, but yeah, you're right. You did make that bingo for your work.
I don't like playing. Like I like playing customized bingo. I think it's very fun.
Right. Oh, you like to play a customized one.
A customized
But do you like to curate a bingo experience for somebody?
Yes,
I feel like that's what you like.
in the customized bingo world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I
Yeah.
do love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some campers have even reported seeing faces of windows of rooms that are no longer accessible or supposedly sealed off. Others describe an overwhelming feeling of sadness or being watched while walking alone. And one of the most chilling reports, a camper who claimed to wake up in the middle of the night to find a pale, unfamiliar woman, bingo,
Bingo. Scratch it off.
scratch it off your card, standing silently at the end of their bed only to vanish when they turned on the light. That would have been good if I said the right word. Possible theories. Is it residual energy or something more? There are a few prevailing theories among paranormal researchers and believers when it comes to the haunting of Fort Sand. Residual energy is the most common explanation. The idea that emotionally charged events, especially repeated suffering and death, can leave behind a kind of psychic recording. These hauntings aren't necessarily conscious spirits, but replays of intense moments that have imprinted themselves onto the environment. I totally buy that.
I
buy that
love the
all day
concept.
long.
I love this concept, and I've always loved this concept. That there's like this psychic imprint on our energy.
Well, it has to be, because we know energy can't be created or destroyed.
That's right. That's right, Valerie.
It can't, and we are energy, so it has to go. Just because our bodies are gone doesn't mean that energy doesn't go somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's what I think.
I love the idea of it because because if you like, it's all just like, I don't want to get too hippy dippy, but you know, just like frequency, vibration.
I love that.
You know, I like to think of everything as a form of vibration because it totally is.
It is.
And then if consciousness is also that, and like that, there's an argument for soul quotations being something tangible in that way. So if you can make an imprint using sound waves on some wax cylinders, maybe you can.
Yeah.
You know
if
what I
you
mean?
could make an imprint, yeah, I agree.
It's confusing.
Yeah, it's not.
And
I mean, it can be.
And it's too early and only half a latte to be getting into this, but
We're recording this on a nice morning because that's the way our schedules have worked out. And
Yeah.
I'm committed. I'm committed to the bit.
your girl's committed.
I'm committed. I thought maybe I'll do a re-release of one that hasn't been listened to that much. And I thought, no. We're not re-releasing till we have over 100 episodes.
I know. I knew I was going to be on the hook for recording this one with you, and I was thinking, I was like, oh boy, maybe I'll not do it. Maybe I'll give up. But then I was like, I had a change of heart. I was like, no. She's been so consistent.
So consistent.
It's
Can't miss a
happened.
week.
You've pumped out a podcast
Every week.
every week.
Every week we've done it, and here we are. And every week you get behind the mic, you get a little better,
You get a little bit stronger.
a little more confident in what you're saying, the words, the conversation.
Yeah.
But also, it's kind of difficult to gauge right now. Just because I'll be like totally honest, not many people are emailing us or DMing us. So I'm just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks. And I mean, I guess I'm going to stick to the old adage, no news is good news. I haven't gotten any heated emails telling me to shut the fuck up at all. So not that I would listen to that anyway.
No, but it'd be nice. It's a nice benchmark. You want to get one.
I want to get one
guy being
I
like-
want to get one super right guy like really mad at me for
Yeah.
spewing my leftist ideas. You know what I mean? I want to get
Yeah.
one. That's how
you
I'll
gotta
know I
get
made
the
it.
one guy being like, if I wanted to hear a couple of women talk, I'd leave my house.
That's right. I'd go home.
I was gonna riff something, but then I felt even rude saying it.
No, but that's why I fixed it for you.
Thank
If
you.
I wanted to hear a couple women talk, I'd go home.
Yeah.
Take my
I'd go
shoes
to the-
off.
I'd go to the woman's store.
You hear what I said there?
Take my shoes off.
I'd go home and take my shoes off. As if your feet were the, I don't know.
The feet were the women?
As if your feet were the women? As if your feet were girls? And then I realized I was calling a man's feet women, and then that was more insulting to the women.
Delete.
Delete. Control Alt Delete. Okay, intelligent haunting. Some believe at least some of the activity could be more than just residual, especially the reported interactions like the woman at the bedside. Could some spirits still be tied to Fort San, unwilling or unable to move on? Yes, I think that is across the board. We all agree in troublesome, unless you don't believe in ghosts, and then we're not even on the same plane of existence, and there's no room in this conversation for you. I think we can all agree that traumatic events leading to deaths leave the emotional imprint of the person there. And it would be hard for anybody to move on past being murdered or being tortured while dying from tuberculosis.
Yep.
I think that would be tough for anybody.
Yep.
Okay. Emotional imprint. Fort San was filled with grief, isolation, and a slow creeping fear of death. That kind of energy doesn't just disappear. For those sensitive to it, the building may act like a sponge for emotion, amplifying the feeling of dread. Very cool. Well, it's not cool, but it's like how
It's a cool concept.
it's a cool concept that buildings could act that way. And as a person who has been in like a lot of theaters, and because
Amplipeaters.
amplipeaters, because I've been in a lot of theaters, and obviously a lot of energy from performers, and there's a lot of energy that happens at theaters. I sometimes just just walking into the theater, you can feel all that energy.
I know.
Even in the Hamilton theater we go to.
The Hamilton theater, I feel like, is like the biggest one.
Gregory Hines performed there.
Exactly.
The tapper, the best tapper.
Well,
all time.
which I was right
Created
there with
his own
you.
tap move, Gregory Hines.
Always performed there too.
Who?
Always. But it's like spelled like always. They're amazing Canadian artists.
Oh, great. Love
Yeah.
that. Love that.
Female led.
Love that. We'll link them.
Yep.
I'm going to put that in my
They do
notes.
the "Hey, hey, marry me, Archie."
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah, I thought you did.
Okay, yay. Okay, that's
You should
great.
cover that one.
I should do that one?
Yeah, you should. You and Michelle.
I feel like people have told me to do that one before.
Maybe me.
Maybe you. You know, I'd like to work on my highs. Because in that note, I Think We're Alone Now, children behave. I can't hit it. I can't hit it. And I want to do it so bad.
No, I know.
I maybe need to hear you hit it, or you know who I need to hear hit it? Taylor.
Yeah.
Because I can mimic his voice.
Yeah.
I can't mimic
And
yours, but I
he
can
doesn't
mimic
have
his.
the occasional cigarette, so.
No, he doesn't. That's just you and Shawnee.
Yeah, it's just me and Shani.
Okay. Shared psychological response. Now you've had a little bit of insight into our lives. There's also a more skeptical take. Some believe the building's history, combined with its unsettling architecture and the power of suggestion, could make visitors expect to feel haunted and their minds fill in the blanks. I guess that's possible, but that's not as fun. Today it is still standing and still whispering. Remarkably, Fort San is still in use, now primarily as a site for youth retreats, music camps, and arts programs. Many visitors who arrive unaware of its past are shocked to learn of its former life, especially after having unexplained experiences. The original buildings still stand, weathered but intact, holding
Bless you.
on to a century of stories, and according to many who visited, those stories are far from over. So if you ever find yourself in Fort Qu'Appelle, maybe take a stroll near Fort San, but don't be surprised if the past tries to reach out and walk beside you. Ooh. Do you want to read this one? Some of it?
Do I ever?
This one's about, or do you want to do the mini haunts?
I'll do the mini haunts.
Okay, I thought you might. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Government House.
Okay.
Located in Regina. Fun story about
Government House sounds like a music
like a bar.
venue.
Yeah. Because I think there was a bar in Toronto called Government.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. Regina, fun fact about
Wait, are you right?
when I was in Brownies, you remember like Brownies and Girl
Yeah,
Scouts?
I was in Beavers.
Okay, so I was in Brownies and you like had to make a new friend. And my new friend's name was Roberta. And then you had to introduce them at the circle. Guess what I said? Regina. But her name was Roberta. And that's my funny story about Regina.
That's cute.
I've never been there. Okay, tucked away on the western edge of Regina stands Regina. Are you laughing because it sounds like vagina?
No. No, I got that out of my system a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
because I'm a boy.
Sorry, Regina.
No, I was laughing.
They're like, it's Regina.
No, I was laughing because I remembered that can I tell a quick story?
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember that I was in Beavers and then I was in Cubs, like Cub Scouts.
Yeah.
Right, the next thing afterwards, and I didn't want to be in Cub Scouts anymore, but I felt like bad for quitting.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to come up with like reasons to quit, and the like guy who ran it was like, you know, like, I don't want to say like crass, because not even crass. Like he was just like, you know, like a working man vibe, which is
It's like a blue collar guy.
like a blue collar guy, right?
In the 90s, early 2000s,
early 2000s, which my parents are not very like, you know, they're kind of, my dad's a cartoonist. They're like kind of hippie-ish sort of, but less blue collar in the way they talk. They like British humor.
His parents
a
are
lot.
artistes.
They are, and they never were very blue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was kind of my way of, I was like, I'm gonna say that this guy just was like talked a little like, you know, like whatever, and I'm trying to say this to my dad, like I'm also making it up, and I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore because the guy, and I'm like getting like nervous and starting to tear up, and my dad, I could just remember my dad being like, oh my god, like what happened, like freaking out, thinking something
Like
terrible
happened to you?
happened to
Oh
me,
my
or
God.
like something terrible, like this guy did something terrible to me, and the best I could come up was like, he says like fart, and like you know what I mean, like it was
Yeah.
like the dumbest sort of fucking thing. And at the time I didn't realize that that's why my dad had this horror and why it like created panic in me, because he thought like
Something had happened to you. You were
something
sexually
terrible.
assaulted.
Exactly. Exactly.
You just didn't like the man.
And I just didn't want to do Cubs anymore. But I just
really
I wasn't until later in my life when I looked back at this,
And you were like, I'm so sorry,
I'm
Dad.
like, oh my god, I probably scared the shit out of my dad.
Sorry for scaring you.
Sorry, Dad. I didn't want to do Cubs no more.
I bet he'll listen.
Okay, sorry, where were we?
Okay, we're talking about Government House. So it's
Regina.
tucked away on the western edge of Regina. And okay, let me start again. You. Yeah, you. Still haunting the same old fast fashion? Time to dig up something better with Back from the Dead Goods, a Canadian small business where forgotten threads get a second life and sustainability meets spooky. This isn't just upcycled clothing. It's resurrected fashion with an eerie edge. Handpicked, reworked, and revived, every piece is as unique as a ghost story whispered at midnight. And because you're a part of the Canadian Creepies family, you get an exclusive deal. Use code Canadian Creepies at checkout for 10% off. Find them lurking on Instagram, Etsy, and Poshmark. Links are in the episode description. Give your wardrobe a second chance at life, if you dare. Tucked away on the western edge of Regina stands a grand, stately home that's been standing for well over a century. It's not just an architectural gem or a reminder of colonial prestige. I don't like that phrase. Or a reminder of colonialism. It's one of Saskatchewan's most quietly unsettling haunted locations. This is Government House, a place where history and haunting exist side by side. Built in the 1890s. Sorry, this is a burp and coughing. Sorry.
Fart and blasting. I'm sorry.
Fart blasting.
I interrupted your bit, which was good and cute.
You liked my bit?
I did.
Thank you.
I liked that you grabbed the microphone. All intense.
And I was like, I was trying to be like and in this corner,
like an announcer.
an announcer, a wrestling announcer specifically, WWE. I was going to say F, but that's the World Wildlife Foundation. Built in the 1890s, Government House originally served as the official residence for the lieutenant governors of the Northwest Territories, and later for Saskatchewan when it joined Confederation in 1905. It was a symbol of British colonial authority in the Canadian prairies, and its halls once hosted royalty, dignitaries, and important political gatherings. The building itself is stunning. Red brick with gabled roofs, tall windows, and the kind of craftsmanship that's becoming increasingly rare.
What's a gabled roof?
I'll show you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I need this for immersion. Oh.
Just like think of like an 18. Think of all the houses in Niagara on the Lake.
Yeah. Yep. Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. One of its oldest remaining examples of the Queen Anne revival style in Western Canada. And inside it's filled with period furnishings, historic portraits, and echoes of time. Period furnishings. I just thought like furnishings for women's
Made
periods.
for women when they're on their period. Like the sort of accommodations we had to make for our dog Daisy when she was on her period.
Yes.
Before she was spayed.
Yes. Or the kind of accommodations you make for me. Because I'm not spayed.
That's right. No, we decided against that with Valerie.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep my uterus for now. But alongside the stories of policy, politics, and protocol, there's another narrative that has lingered. Quieter but persistent. That of a resident spirit affectionately known as Howie.
Howie.
Meet Howie, the resident ghost. The origins of Howie are murky. Some believe he may be a former staff member, possibly a butler or a groundskeeper from the early 1900s. Others speculate that he's connected
Howie.
to a member of one of the lieutenant governor's families. There's no definitive historical record pinpointing his identity, but one thing is certain. People continue to report unexplained phenomena that they often attribute to Howie.
Yep.
Employees and visitors alike have described hearing phantom footsteps echoing down empty hallways, doors creaking open with no one behind them, and lights turning off and on by themselves. These aren't just quick glimpses of feelings. These aren't just quick glimpses or feelings of unease. Some of the stories are specific, detailed, and often unnerving. Some staff have described the sensation of being watched, especially in the older parts of the building. A few have claimed they've seen a figure, always in their periphery, never clearly, dressed in the early 20th century garb, silently passing through a corridor or disappearing into a room. Howie never seems malicious. In fact, he's often described as mischievous, almost playful, but his presence is undeniable. I think we need to take a trip to the Regina House, or the government house in Regina.
Sure.
Here are some unexplained happenings and enduring legends. One well-known story comes from a staff member who was locking up the house for the evening. They turned off the lights, did a final walkthrough, and began to leave, only to find the lights in several rooms had switched back on. Thinking they'd made a mistake, they went back on, turned them off again, but the same thing happened. And this wasn't a one-time event. It's been repeated by multiple staff at different times in different rooms. There are also reports of cold spots that appear out of nowhere, particularly in the old library and former servants' quarters. Objects go missing and turn up in odd places, and antique chairs are sometimes found moved, slightly shifted from their usual display positions. Creepy.
Yep.
Tour guides often mention Howie during their walkthroughs, and many guests report an eerie but oddly charming feeling during their visits, like someone unseen is tagging along, observing quietly from the corner of the room. Ooh, that just gave me the goosebumps. I bet that's true.
I like that.
So I do some places hold energy. When we talk about hauntings in historic buildings like Government House, we're not just dealing with folklore. There's a kind of emotional residue in old places, what some people call stone tape theory. It's an idea that intense emotions, repeated rituals, and important moments imprint themselves on walls, floors, and objects around them. So now we have a name for it, the stone tape theory.
Stone tape.
Think
I like
about
that.
it. I like it too. Government House has seen more than a century of life. Births, deaths, political intrigue, family drama, celebrations, losses. These moments leave behind a kind of energy, especially in a building that has stood relatively unchanged through time. Wood soaks up footsteps. Brick holds on to echoes. And in the quiet between guided tours and official functions, that energy seems to make itself known. There's also the idea that heritage buildings act almost like psychic amplifiers. They're layered with decades of memories and people passing through with some strong emotional connections to the space. That lingering connection may be enough to keep a presence like Howie rooted to the home even long after their physical body has moved on.
Beautiful.
It is still open and still haunted. Today, Government House is open to the public as a museum, heritage property, and cultural space. It's beautifully preserved and continues to host events, ceremonies, and exhibitions. But the paranormal side of its legacy hasn't faded. Even now, visitors report the same phenomena that have been whispered about for decades. And the staff? Many of them fully accept Howie as part of the workplace. He's more of a coworker than a cause for concern. After all, he's never hurt anyone. Just flickers in and out, reminding us that history is never truly dead. In a province like Saskatchewan, where vast prairies stretch endlessly and the past often feels just a breath away, places like Government House serve as both museum and mirror. They show us where they've come from, and maybe, if we're lucky, or just a little bit haunted, they let us see who's still lingering behind. And that's the Government House.
Interesting. I like that one. That one was like kind of pleasant feeling.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Howie seems familiar. You want to do some mini haunts?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. There you go.
So that's right here, this like little paragraph that you got?
Yeah, well, you're going to have to scroll down. Please start from the top.
You didn't just say let's shift gears, did you? That's
No,
my line?
that's your line.
Sorry. Oh yeah, I see. We got it. Okay, cool. Let's shift gears.
Yeah, let's do it.
Into some quick fire hauntings from across the Saskatchewan landscape. I can speak. And I can...
Oh, no, it buzzed out.
Are we still here?
Now you are.
Okay, yeah. Finicky cables and whatnot. Was there a cool sound for everyone to hear?
Probably.
Okay, that's good. Great. Let's shift gears into some quick fire hauntings from across the Saskatchewan landscape. These are smaller tales, but don't let their size fool you. They pack an eerie punch. The St. Louis Ghost Train, St. Louis, Saskatchewan.
Try that
I'm gonna
again.
do a take two, please. And it's St. Louis, right?
I'd say St. Louis.
St. Louis.
We're in Canada.
Wouldn't that be? But okay.
St. Louis is across the border. In where is St. Meet me in St. Louis. Where is that place?
I don't know.
Indiana
St.
or
Louis
something.
feels like French
Mississippi
to me.
or something. Okay, say St. Louis. Yeah, we'll keep it in.
The St. Louis Ghost Train, St. Louis, Saskatchewan. Write in. Tell us how you pronounce it.
Yeah,
Just
that's right.
outside the small community of St. Louis. I should say St. Louis. Now it feels wrong. Just outside the small community of St. Louis, a spectral light dances along a long abandoned stretch of railway track. It's known as the St. Louis Ghost Train, and it's been a source of local legend for decades.
It might be Louis because I'm thinking Louis Riel.
Right? That's what I was thinking.
Okay, it's probably Louis.
We're going to just flip back and forth between the two.
So we can cover our bases.
Yep. So we'll be 50% correct, 50% wrong. And everyone's ears will hurt.
That's right.
Witnesses describe a bright glowing orb that appears without warning, sometimes red, sometimes white, floating silently down the path where the tracks used to run. It moves like a train headlight in the distance, gliding closer before vanishing into the dark prairie night.
Wow.
Yep. There are theories. Something about piezoelectric effects.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a cool word.
Piezoelectric?
Piezoelectric effects. Headlights reflecting off quartz in the soil or refracted lights from the highway. But none of them fully explain the consistent reports or why the phenomenon was observed before cars were even a factor. Excuse me. Some locals believe it's the spirit of railway worker decapitated in a tragic accident.
Oh my God.
I know. I was like, am I reading this right?
I mean, I feel like a lot of people got decapitated in the early 1900s just because things generally were not safe.
Heads will roll.
That's where that came from.
That's where it came from.
And kings and queens were just beheading people all over the place.
I'm decapitated on the railway. Forever searching for his missing head with a ghostly lantern in his hand. This one's sick. I guess that was one. That was one little haunt.
So there's a guy searching for his head.
Yeah, so people are there's a bright glowing orb that appears out of the blue, sometimes red or white, floating down the path silently, where the railway tracks used to go. So
Smooth.
so it's a ghost train situation.
I like that.
And people, then
like
there's
to
all
go
these
there.
different theories. Are like, is it some sort of headlight reflecting off the quartz? But why has it been going on for so long? Even before
Because of that residual energy.
Yeah, but like why? Like, you know, before there was even cars, they're saying they were seeing this little floating light, and they think it's a headless homie
guy looking for his
son, just getting his head. Okay, another great pronunciation coming at you. The Wolseley Swinging Bridge. Wolseley. Dry up, Wolseley, you old boot.
That's right.
Thank you. Wolseley is known for its quaint charm and its picturesque swinging bridge, but as the sun sets, that bridge takes on a more ominous tone. There are stories, whispers, really of a shrouded figure appearing at dusk, a tall silhouette cloaked or draped in dark clothing, seen standing at the center of the bridge, unmoving. Some witnesses say the figure disappears the moment they take a step onto the boards. Others claim it turns to face them, but no face is visible. That shit's scary.
That is scary.
No faces is bad. You know, I mean, like, face is like the epitome of friendliness.
That's right.
We
if there's
draw
no
faces
face
on inanimate objects to make them more pleasant to us.
That's right.
Then with a face, way cooler.
Way cooler
chiller.
than a man without a face.
So, you know, you
The only
remove
thing
that.
worse than a man with a face is a man without a face.
And you know how it's like people are like, there are people like you can't eat that. I don't eat anything with a face,
That's right.
right?
Were you going to eat that guy now? Because he doesn't have a face?
I bet you will. Locals have speculated, could it be the spirit of someone lost to the icy waters below? A mourner from a long-forgotten tragedy? No one knows for sure, but few are eager to linger on that bridge after dark.
Dun, dun, dun.
Doodly-doo-doo-doo. That's how it goes, right?
Yeah, that's it. I want to go there. Anybody from Wolseley? Let's hear from you.
Wolseley. Dry up, Wolseley.
Old Prune.
Is it prune?
I don't know. Why would it be Boone?
Boone. Boot, I thought.
I think it's Prune, because prunes dry up.
Prunes do dry up.
Dates dry
Yeah,
into
it's probably
prunes.
prune. The old prune.
Yeah.
But I thought it was boot.
Could be boot. Boots dry up, too.
Yeah. You're right. That made me sad.
I'm sorry.
For no reason. I don't know why I did. Got a Saskatchewan spook of your own? We want to hear it.
We do.
Whether it's a mysterious noise in an old farmhouse, a haunted road you avoid after sunset, or a childhood experience you still can't explain, we're putting together a future episode just for you.
Saskatchewan, it's for you.
Canadian Creepy Nights. I don't know why I said that. If you have a creepy tale set in Saskatchewan or anywhere in Canada, really, we'd love to feature it. Send us your story by email at CanadianCreepiesPodcast@gmail.com or message us on Instagram at Canadian Creepies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll read some of your hauntings on air, and who knows, maybe your story will help solve a local mystery or spark a deeper dive into a hidden piece of haunted history.
That would be so cool. That's why we want to hear from you guys.
That's what I want to hear from you. Tell us your creepies.
We want to hear the creepies
Let's
because
hear the
right now
boogans.
I'm just picking stuff. I'm just grabbing stuff. I mean, you guys are liking it, and that is fantastic.
Great news.
But I'd love some direction from you. Love some direction. I just want to be giving you what you want. Why don't you hit that current case theme song?
Okay. Bing bong. Ba-ding, ba-ding.
Before we close, we want to take a moment to acknowledge a slalom and ongoing slalom. I'm going to say that again. Before we close, we want to take a moment to acknowledge a solemn and ongoing reality in this country, one that ties deeply into our exploration of haunted places and the lingering energy of the past. On February 14th, 2025, communities across Canada, including many right in Saskatchewan, held annual memorial marches for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and Two-Spirit people, known as MMIWG2S+. These marches are about more than awareness. They are acts of remembrance, and for many, For many who attend, they carry a spiritual weight, a sense that those who have been taken are still with us in one way or another, that their stories are unfinished and their presence still lingers. In Indigenous teachings, when a life is stolen without justice, the spirit often remains close, not in fear, but in waiting, in yearning, in quiet protest. Across Saskatchewan, there are fields, highways, and riverbanks where people still leave offerings, places where families return year after year. Some speak of dreams, some speak of signs, some speak of a feeling, a presence that wraps around them in those spaces. This isn't haunting in the classic sense. It's deeper, it's historical, it's sacred, and it reminds us that haunted doesn't always mean spooky. It can mean unresolved, remembered, and still reaching out. We encourage you to learn more about the MMIWG2S crisis and to support those who are working for justice, healing, and truth. We'll link to resources in our show notes. I'm Allie. That brings us to the end.
Sorry. I'll cut that out.
That brings us to the end of Echoes on the Plains, Haunted Saskatchewan, Part 1. Thanks for wandering the prairies with us, diving into the eerie tales and haunted histories.
We know the land holds deep stories, some full of wonder, others heavy with sorrow. As we explore hauntings and folklore, we also want to honor the real lives and communities impacted by violence, injustice, and erasure, especially Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people.
So before we go, we want to share some resources for those who may be impacted by or want to learn more about the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people in Canada.
If you or someone you know needs support, you can contact the 24/7 MMIWG2S Plus crisis line at 1-844-413-6649. This is a national, toll-free support line available to anyone who needs to talk.
You can also visit the Native Women's Association of Canada at nwac.ca for more information, advocacy, and programs supporting Indigenous women and gender-diverse people.
And check out Families of Sisters in Spirit and Butterfly in Spirit, both of which are grassroots organizations led by families of MMIWG2S Plus victims.
We'll include links to these resources in our show notes and on Instagram at Canadian Creepies, so they're always easy to find.
Thank you for listening and holding space with us. We'll be back next time with more haunted places from Saskatchewan. And as always, more stories that linger long after the episode ends.
Until then, stay curious, stay compassionate,
and stay creepy.
Bye.
Thank you to Kyle McDonald for editing and composing our theme song.